Before we begin the session, I would request you all to please put your mobile phones on silent so that there is no disturbance during the session. The moderator of the session is Waqas Masood. Waqas Masood is a professor in the Department of Physics at Comsats University, Islamabad. Over to you, Waqas sir.
So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have gathered here to discuss Arshad Waheed's novel Other Days. Should we? Yeah, so morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have gathered here to discuss Arshad Waheed's novel Other Days. Arshad Waheed has translated works of Gabriel Garcia Marquez and Milan Kundera in Urdu. He wrote his first novel, Guman, in 1995. Other Days, by the way, I want to share with the audience that recently Other Days has been awarded the Best English Novel for the year 2021 by the Pakistan Academy of Letters. So the story of the novel spans over nearly 3.5 decades. So it begins in the late 60s, and then the novel takes you to the Zia's dictatorial regime. And the latter half of the novel is set in the post-9/11 era. So the gist of the novel is that Sarah and Daud are the two main protagonists of this novel. They meet each other in the university, and one night while they are sitting in Daud's hostel, they are assaulted by the militant wing of a student organization, and that event changes their lives forever. Daud leaves the country, and a few years later, Sarah also follows suit. Many years later, they come back to Pakistan and they find that the society or the country that they left has transformed totally. So, Arshad, you wrote your first novel, Guman, in 1995, and then after a hiatus of almost 2.5 decades, you wrote Other Days. So please share with us the journey of writing this novel.
Thank you. Well, the idea of writing this novel came way back when I was studying in UK, and I had come across Pakistani diaspora. There were two different kinds of immigrants from Pakistan which I had opportunity to interact with. One, those who left Pakistan because of some economic reasons to improve their future for the well-being of themselves and for their families. The other one were those who had to migrate Pakistan because of some political reasons or socio-cultural reasons they had been, they had experienced through during all those times. So they were full of hopes that they would one day come back. They would go back to their own country, things would change for the better, and they would live in a society where they can breathe in with comfort and happiness. Things have changed. Things have not changed. Their dreams have not seen the light of the day. And then when they came back, the things were different. So idea at the first place was meeting with those immigrants. Later, when I started writing those things, many things changed. My own worldview changed, and the characters, when they took shape in the story, they started telling their own stories. So it went a lot. I had to go through what these characters are thinking, how the circumstances have affected them. So it took a while, many years. I have to work through many scripts, and then, so that's why it took that much time.
Okay. So we get to read about Heer Ranja and Mela Charaga at beating of dhols at shrines, Madhulal's poetry, hippies, Madij Amjad and Meera Ji, study circles, well-known English songs and famous TV programs. So do you intend to inform the readers about the cultural ethos of the society and also capture the zeitgeist to make them understand the novel better?
I think it's more related to capture the spirit of times. If you are writing about some characters, it's always good to put them into context of their contemporary times. How they were shaped, how their ideas were shaped, how their behaviors were shaped in particular situation. As you know, the 60s, decade of 60s and even some part of 70s, that is considered as golden decade of the last century. World was full with the socio-political movements of human liberation and all that. And I knew some people, most of the people of the left-wing politics, I mean, they were kind of bubbling with red-hot passion to paint the whole world red. And they thought that one day this world would change. In addition to that, there was also kind of influence of existential literature and rebellion, and people wanted to carve their own way as an individual. So these are the two streaks which I had to discuss in that novel. And of course, I had to use devices of cultural ethos of that time, particularly poetry and music. You know, in those days, even the nationalists were trying to reinterpret their old folklore with the focus on the contemporary ideas. So all those discussions were necessary to put context of the story and to say and to express why certain characters behaved in a certain manner.
Okay. So Sarah and Zafar, they work for a political organization, a leftist organization, which is supposed to support emancipation of individuals and uphold secular values. But we see that the organization becomes very intrusive and even tries to control the personal lives of the people. So this led me to think that, how difficult it is for an organization and even an individual to extricate, himself from the clutches of the social conditioning.
Well, some of my friends are sitting here who had direct experience of those times, Tasim Rizvi Saab, Khurshid Saab. They would agree. Those were the times, number one, the radical socialist workers, they just thought that revolution was just around the corner. As Faiz says something like, "Do char naiya paar hui." Or they were so certain that one day revolution would come, like "Jo wo din ke jiska vada hai" type things. But at the same time, there was also a culture of considering party as a family and considering party as a mother. So you were not supposed to hide anything from the party, and you were not supposed to deviate social norms or political norms what party had dictated upon its workers or comrades. So that is why they just felt free to take advantage of this thing, and any person who they thought was not according to the lines of strict discipline of the party, because they thought since they are in confrontation with an organized state, they should also be militant, and they should also be very strong in discipline. So that is why personal life was almost denied on most of them.
Yeah, okay. So Sarah goes to UK and raises Sami as a single parent. So your novel beautifully captures the identity crisis of the Pakistani diaspora living in UK. So I just wanted to ask you that, is it something that is Pakistan-centric, or all immigrant communities, they experience this kind of identity crisis when they go.
Well, I don't know about other communities or migrants, but I have some knowledge of Pakistani immigrants, and their responses to outside world or the country they were living in, it was formed by a paradoxical nature of their thought systems. Number one was fear and the suffering from. So these two characteristics mainly shaped their behaviors and responses to the society they were living in.
So now I'm coming to something which has intrigued me while reading the novel. So, as I said earlier, that Sarah and Daud are the main protagonists of this novel. Sarah is an extrovert, and her character is very well explained. On the contrary, Daud's character is shrouded in mystery, and we get to know him through his writings. We know that he's trying to write a novel. He has not been able to do so, and he's mostly lost in his thoughts. So now that we are talking about the society and its roots, so it reminds me of this when I, read about Daud's character, that he's lost in himself mostly. So as Munir Niazi said, कि कल देखा एक आदमी अटा सफर की धूल में, गुम था अपने आप में, जैसे खुशबू फूल में. So you get to, feel that way. And then, he comes back to Pakistan to rediscover himself. But because the society has transformed, he becomes more lost. So, again, I have to, quote this Munir Niazi's verse, कि वापस न जा वहाँ कि तेरे शहर में मुनीर, वापस न जा वहाँ कि तेरे शहर में मुनीर, जो जिस जगह पे था, वो वहाँ पर नहीं रहा. So you see, these are and you also write in your novel that he lived like a murmur and vanished in silence. So please tell us about the main difference in the two main characters of your novel.
Well, I think they are two different human beings, and of course they have different ways to react with the outside world. Sarah, as you know, she's more practical. She's very clear-headed. She knows how to react if somebody is hostile to her, and she always wants to prove that she exists and she knows how to resist. So most of her character is shown through actions, through events, where she takes a particular stance. Whereas Daud, most of the times, he's kind of dreamer. He has a lot of doubts. He has also self-doubts. And all the time, he is in the process of discovering and rediscovering himself, even when he was here, even when he was abroad, even when he came back. So these two main things shape the two different characters. They might be sharing the same worldview. They might have a lot of similarities. I mean, number one being to protect their inner selves in a very hostile environment. But the way to react, both had a different, both of them had different ways to react. So Daud is mainly shown through his writings, through his diaries, through his notes, the kind of music he loves to hear, and his very peculiar nostalgia. Nostalgia which just remains in his mind. The world around him has changed, but he does not want to change. He tries to interpret world as he had interpreted way back, like 30 years back when he was young, and when he was writing stories, and he wanted to write a story like Heer Waris Shah, things like that. So because they are two different characters, they are shown through different devices.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I would like to, elaborate on this, because we get to know about Daud through his writings, and Sarah reads his writings also. And somewhere, you see, it's written by him that somewhere the characters of his story transform into shadows and start playing roles like puppets on an imaginary stage. So you see, there is a certain dreaminess about this whole writing, and so I thought that this is probably the place where you have really experimented as a novelist. So I would like you to, tell us more about this experimentation, because I think that is something that I find very special about this novel.
Well, there might be few people even sitting amongst here or even, I mean, they had a very peculiar experience that things have changed drastically even in their own lives. So their own life, their own world has been strangers to them. And they are stranger to the world around. So that is a feeling. I mean, many people, even when they live like shadows. I mean, no one registers them, no one takes notice of them, no one tries to recognize what they are feeling, what might be their inner feelings when they are acting in a certain way. So it's a feeling of being irrelevant in their own time. And to realize that we have become irrelevant, that's a reality which no one takes very easily. So that was the story of Dawood, if I can say, that there was a world which just existed in his own mind. He has no other relations. He was with his own nostalgia, and when he came back, he came back with a hope that he would reinvent himself, but that didn't happen because he had lost skills to interact with a world which was so different from what he had already thought.
So another very special thing about your novel is that female characters, be it Sarah, Sami or Bano, they're all very strong-willed and resolute characters. So is it the way that you would like to see the women in our society, or is it the way you have found them in your own personal experience?
Well, I may have certain views and I may have certain, imagination to see some different people in certain how they behave, but I might have come across different men and women, but that is not the case because when I started this novel, I had some idea that my character should be like that, but over the years when I was writing, the story took its own direction and characters just started dictating me. So I would say that this novel basically deals with the dilemma of conflict between individual and society. Society in different ways tries to exert its pressure, try to dictate its individual to act in a certain way which society wants them to be. They create images and one has to shape himself or herself according to that image. So that is the basic conflict which runs throughout the story. So if an individual is in confrontation with social norms, so women have perhaps more share of hostility from the outer world as compared to men. So then the story might have to be to show them stronger. So that may be one reason which you can see that this novel has strong women characters. But very frankly, it's not that I want to write like that. It's the characters which kind of demanded to be perceived like that.
Okay, so just comment, and maybe I can ask you a question, that the journey of all the characters, you see, it turns out to be tragic and bristling with discomfiture, disillusionment, and gaping voids. So, and there is a general air of melancholy in this novel. So actually, when I finished reading, so it reminded me of this verse of Faiz, कि नारसाई अगर अपनी तकदीर थी, तेरी उल्फत तो अपनी ही तदबीर थी, किसको शिकवा है गर शौक के सिलसिले, हिजर की कत्ल गाहों से सब जा मिले. So So, so why this melancholy, you know, throughout you have this feeling that there is an air of melancholy around the novel. Yeah.
चलें अब इसको उर्दू में करते हैं ईश्वर आपा कह रही हैं तो वो क्या आपको लगता है कि कोई चीज़ें बदली हैं वो मतलब वो क्या वो फैज़ की लाइन थी कि वो ना ही हालात ही बदलते हैं ना ही नज़में पुरानी होती हैं मेरा ख़्याल है कि ऑल दीज इयर्स वी हैव गॉन थ्रू ये जितनी 6 और 7 मतलब अशरे जो गुज़रे हैं इसमें अगर बहुत आप देखें एक मेलनकली हमेशा से रही है अगर आप उसके पोइटिक एक्सप्रेशन में देखें मैं एक मिसाल देता हूँ कि वो जो है निसार मैं तेरी गलियों में है वतन के जहाँ रस्म चली है कि कोई न सर उठा के चले तो क्या कोई ये चीज़ बदली है अभी तक तो नहीं बदली मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि कभी नहीं बदलेगी लेकिन बहरहाल हमारी ज़िंदगियाँ इसी मेलनकली में गुजरी हैं इसी उदासी में गुजरी हैं इसी उम्मीद को बनाने में और उस उम्मीद को फिर बुझते हुए देखने में गुजरी हैं तो इसमें मेरा तो कसूर नहीं है मैंने तो जो देखा है जो महसूस किया उसी को लिखा तो so अगर हालात नहीं बदले तो मेरा कसूर तो नहीं है
My, you know, one final question is before I ask the audience to ask you a question that your novel informs the reader about the changes that you know have taken place in the political landscape of the country, but without ever commenting on it. On the contrary, I have seen many authors, very well-known authors, you know, who have written about such things, and they are very vociferous about their own views. So you somehow put a lot of restraint on yourself not to comment. So is this a different style of writing? So please share this with us.
Number one, I was more comfortable at writing with this style because I don't have to take responsibility of what I'm saying. So that gives me a space to maneuver more freely through the characters. Secondly, I think if I have to just express my own views, I should better write a pamphlet, I should better write an essay, maybe I should write poetry. But the thing is, this is a novel, it's dealing with different characters, and they have their own stories. And the characters demand to be understood, not to be judged. If you want to understand the truth, you have to come out of your biases. Only then you can relate with a different reality. You can relate with different realities of different characters. So if you want to just stuff them with your own ideas, they would be just robots. They would be predictable. So the element of surprise would vanish in such stories. So I just took this liberty, and I firmly believe that when I write a novel or when a story is told, it's told through its characters. And if you just confine with our own moral values, we won't be able to evolve a situation which may be unpredictable, which may invite us to go into deeper levels of our own inner beings. So that is one thing. That was the main reason I didn't want to dictate my own views on the characters. Rather, I wanted to be led by my characters.
So now the house is open for questions. Gigi, please. Gigi, please.
हेलो असल में मसला ये है कि जैसे कल इफ्तिखार ने कहा था कि बहुत सारी इंग्लिश की बात ज़रा सी उर्दू हो जाए तो समझ में आ जाती है ये नावल इस तरह से मुख्तलिफ है और इसके लिए मैं उससे पहले बता दूं कि मैं एक दफ़ा मुझे सुबह सुबह फ़ोन आया उस्ताद दामन का तो उन्होंने कहा कि कुड़िए मैंने 10 ब्रदर क्रमज़ोफ दी कहानी की ये एक फिक्र ही दस दे मैं क्या उस्ताद जी तुसी फिल्म बनानी है कहणगे हाँ मैं क्या ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਹੈ यूसुफ खान ਨੂੰ कि हाँ तो बस ठीक है मैं क्या ਇਹੋ ਹੀ फिल्म है दूजा लव लवो ब्रदर क्रमज़ोफ तो मैं ढूंढ लिए कि इन्होंने बहुत सी चीज़ें फ़लसफ़े में कही हैं जो इस नावल की 3-4 खूबियाँ हैं वो ये हैं मुख्तसर कि एक तो इन्होंने गांव का मंजर जो है और गांव में जो कुछ होता है इंक्लूडिंग मिला चिरागा वगैरह, उनको बार बार रिपीट करते हुए ये बताया है कि हमारी गांव की ज़िंदगी में अभी तक बुनियाद हमारी वही है। दूसरी बात जो बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है, वो इन्होंने इस नावल में वो फिल्म वाला मंजर नहीं किया कि पहले मुलाकात होती है यहाँ पे और फिर न्यूयॉर्क में होती है और फिर एक दूसरे से फिर दोबारा मोहब्बत करने लगते। मोहब्बत नहीं करते, लेकिन एहतराम करते हैं, एक दूसरे के जज्बे का एहतराम करते हैं। और ये एहतराम हमारे अंग्रेज़ी नावल में पाकिस्तान में जो लिखे जाते हैं वो बहुत कम है। उनका अपना वो चाहे हामिद हो चाहे कोई हो, जो एटमॉस्फेयर है वो 65 की और उसके बाद MRD की तहरीक और सारी चीज़ें आती हैं। लेकिन जो एक मैच्योर जो इन्होंने बताया वकास ने, मैच्योर औरतें इसमें नज़र आती हैं और उसमें एक बेटी भी है जो अपने माँ बाप में सुलह नहीं कराती, मुलाकात कराती। और इस तरीके से नावल जो है वो आगे बढ़ के इस मकाम पे पहुँचता है कि ज़िंदगी चलती रहती है, इंसान कभी डिप्रेशन में जाता है और कभी होश में होता है, और जब डिप्रेशन में जाता है तो वापस आने के लिए अपनी ज़मीन को पुकारती है और वापस आता है।
मेरे ख्याल हम जो आधा घंटा बोलते रहे आपने हमसे देखा एंड जस्ट इन्हीं थोड़ा सा ऐड करना चाहूँ जो उन्होंने कहा कि वो जो आपस में मिलते हैं उस तरह की सो कॉल्ड रोमांस शुरू नहीं होता। सो वो हमने सोचा देवर पार्टनर्स इन ह्यूमिलिएशन। तो उस डेकेड में जो उनके साथ ह्यूमिलिएशन हुई दोनों के साथ, देवर असॉल्टेड, और जो उन्होंने फिज़िकल और मेंटल टॉर्चर सहा, तो वो एक बॉन्ड था। दैट इज़ ऑल्सो वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग बॉन्ड विच कनेक्ट्स पीपल। सो वो रिस्पेक्ट भी इसलिए करते हैं, और दूसरा ये कि वर्ल्ड व्यू कोई और शेयर करने वाला भी नहीं उनके अलावा। ह्यूमिलिएशन का जो एक्सपीरियंस है वो उनका एक बॉन्ड है सर। वो जो तारीख राहों में मारे गए ना, वो बाद में अभी बैठे हैं।
Please, any questions? जी, please.
जस्ट अ कमेंट। किश्वर आपा वाली और आपकी बात में थोड़ा सा इजाफा करना चाहूँगी कि वो एहतराम और इकट्ठे ह्यूमिलिएशन बर्दाश्त करने के अलावा शनाख्त भी है। जब हम एक दूसरे को जानते हैं तो ज़रूरी नहीं होता कि वो मोहब्बत ही की तरफ सफ़र हो। और एक और कमेंट करना चाहूँगी कि आप शायरी मत कीजिए, आप नावलिस्ट ही हैं।
लोग सुनते ज़्यादा शायरी क्यों हैं?
We still have time for a couple of questions, so please feel free. यहाँ पे कोई language barrier नहीं है, आप बेशक उर्दू में सवाल कीजिए। यहाँ पे कुछ नौजवान भी बैठे हैं, वो भी जी जी प्लीज।
आई थिंक जो एक कंट्रीब्यूशन अरशद कि एक यानी आपने बेसिकली ह्यूमन डिग्निटी को बहुत सेलिब्रेट किया कि कैसे एक वाक़या किसी की लाइफ को कम्प्लीटली बदल देता है, उसकी जो डायरेक्शन है और वो बार बार उसका रिकरिंग थी। दूसरी बात है जो डिक्लाइन ऑफ सिटी है आपका, यानी यू एक्सपेरिमेंटेड विद जो सिटी है उसको एज ए करेक्टर और डिक्लाइन। तीसरा जो नावल का फॉर्मेट है वो जो मुरवजा कमर्शियल सक्सेस नावल्स की हुई है उसको आपने रिजेक्ट किया और आपने अपना पाथ लिया। ये जो क्राफ्ट पे आपकी जिसमें आपने यू डिडंट ट्राई टू प्लीज दी वेस्टर्न पब्लिशर्स और जो एक ख़ास फार्मूलिक राइटिंग है इंग्लिश नावल की पाकिस्तान में, उससे आपने डिविएशन की, वो आपने क्यों की और वो चॉइसेस क्यों ली आपने? थैंक यू।
मतलब ज़रूरी तो नहीं था कि उनको फॉलो किया जाए ना, तो वो इसलिए क्यों का जवाब तो ये है कि दिस वाज माय वे ऑफ एक्सप्रेसिंग माई सेल्फ। दूसरा ये कि मैंने उन्हीं चीज़ों पे बारे में लिखा जिनके बारे में मुझे ज़्यादा इल्म था। मैंने बहुत सारी चीज़ें इम्पोज करने की कोशिश नहीं की, और जो कहानी मेरे जहन में आई उसके सारे जो रेफरेंसेस थे वो यहीं पे रूटेड थे। मतलब डायस्पोरा भी अपनी नॉस्टैल्जिया में यहीं की बात कर रहा है। फिर जो बहुत ज़्यादा मेरे अपने जो डायरेक्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस में थे, मतलब हीर वारिस शाह की स्टोरी उसका एक बेसिक रेफरेंस था जो इस पूरे नावल में रेजोनेट भी करता है कि बुनियादी क्वेश्चन ये है कि जो लोग बगावत करते हैं अपने गिवन सिस्टम से, एट द एंड ऑफ द डे वो उनसे एंडोर्स होने वापस क्यों आते हैं। ठीक है, वो जो हमारा रिबेल का जर्नी है वो एक अननोन में जाने की बजाय एक लेवल ऑफ कंफर्ट जो है उसमें वापस आके दोबारा रीइंटरप्रेट होना चाहता है, एंड दैट मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स ends into tragedies which happen in this novel as well, and even if you जो और भी आपकी एपिक्स हैं उसमें आप देखें कि ये जब आप एक अननोन की जर्नी पे जाते हैं तो वहाँ पे बहुत आपको अनप्रडिक्टेबल सिचुएशंस मिलती हैं, आपको बहुत चैलेंजेस होते हैं, और लेकिन आप अगर वापस उसी सिस्टम से एंडोर्स होना चाहें तो वो आपको बख्शता नहीं है, वो आपको जो है अपने हिसाब से ट्रीट करेगा। अगर आप समझें कि अब वो काइंड हो गए हैं, अब आपको वो मतलब अपने आप में ऑप्ट कर लेंगे, ऐसा होता जनरली नहीं होता। सो दैट वाज द, आई मीन लेट मी से वेरी फ्रैंकली, दिस आइडिया वाज जनरेटेड व्हेन आई वाज जस्ट डिस्कशिंग, अपना ज़ुबैर साहब बैठे हैं, ये संगत में ही नजम हुसैन सैयद रखते थे डिस्कशंस मुख्तलिफ हमारी पोइट्री पे, तो एक बड़ी हीटेड डिबेट हुई थी कि हीर वारिस शाह के ऊपर कि वाई डज शी कम बैक, वाई डू दे कम बैक। Okay, the time is finished, so I think...
Thank you very much for coming.